A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to our resumed coverage for the opening day of competition for the 18th season of the BNL Karting Series here in 2026. My name's Alex Goldschmidt, your official series commentator up here in the commentary booth, just overlooking the start-finish straight. What an action-packed morning we have had here in eastern France. Around about a 25-mile drive from Lille International Airport. As we go picture in picture, courtesy of our live streaming partners, a big thank you to WFR Live TV for providing what you see on your screens on YouTube in glorious sound and vision. So we go to the first of our four finals, which will decide the first set of points to be scored on the path to Portimao. This year, the Rotax Max Challenge Grand Finals will, as it did 2 years ago, head to the Cartódromo Internacional do Algarve in Portimao between the 21st and the 28th of November 2026. It's a fantastic facility, a great track with lots of elevation changes and plenty of fast-flowing corners. But here at Ostricourt, it is in its own right a fast-flowing and technical circuit. As now our team down on the dummy grid have just given the 3-minute signal to the mechanics to make their way off of the grid. So the running order for this afternoon's activities out on track will be coming up shortly at 2:30 local time. That's Central European time. In France is the Mini Max and Mini Rookie final. 2:55 p.m. local time will be DD2 and DD2 Masters for their final, and then we'll have Junior Max at 3:20 and 3:45 the Senior Rotax Top 36 final. The respective durations for the finals will be as follows. For Mini Max and Mini Max Rookie, and for Junior Max it will be 12 minutes plus an additional lap, and for the remaining other classes we up the ante to 15 minutes plus an additional lap. And we have had an increase of air ambient temperature. We are now at our highest point of the day, 13 degrees centigrade. And we are just under 2 minutes to go until we get underway with the first of 4 finals here. So a total of 26 drivers set to compete in this first final. There's Arlo Gamble, the defending Mini Rookie champion from Sam Pollock Racing in the number 72. Don't know whether he's got jazz hands there, has Arlo, but nevertheless, we have had some great performances being shown by our field here today at Ostricourt, which this year celebrates its 30th anniversary. So since 1996, this circuit has been in operation. So there is the number 44, Jayan Prakash, running with the same number that current Scuderia Ferrari F1 driver and the man who is the most decorated in terms of wins, podiums, pole positions, and has also equalled Michael Schumacher as a 7-time Formula One world champion, who also started his days back as a 7-year-old racing around Rye House Kart Raceway in Hoddesdon in Hertfordshire. It is, of course, Lewis Hamilton. So these drivers will really have to change their mindset in terms of the strategy. It's a longer race, so sometimes you have to be a little bit more patient. As the engines fire up, we head out onto the circuit here at Ostricourt. Let's take you through the starting grid for the Mini Max and Mini Rookie final. Osterman starts from pole position. Joshua Cook will be alongside on the front row. Dayan Habets will be joined by the 152 of Maria Roberto, with 2 KR Sport drivers occupying the outside of the opening 2 rows. August Lickibol-Lingzo and Teddy Murphy round out row 3. Zayn Safoglu, the young superstar from Turkey, from Strawberry Racing, will line up on the inside of row number 4 as our mini rookie pole setter, and he'll be joined by Sam Pollitt Racing's young hotshot from the UAE, LBJ Stubbs. Tristan Abiels and Milita Karlsmaker round out your top 10. Lenny Barton and Gabriel Wallet round out row 6, ahead of Malte Holm and Jayan Prakash. Maxime Ball, Henry Mayat, Omer Mesudieli, Chloe Malling Sorensen. Then we've got Charlie Page. Arlo Gamble completes the top 20. And rounding out the 26-strong grid will be Kan Aras Agun, Eva van Middendorp, Arthur Bowers, Julian Janssen, Ryan Townsend, and Raphael Hardwa bringing up the rear of the field. So our mini and mini rookie drivers are ready and under starters' orders to get themselves underway. Looks like August Lickebo-Lingzo was getting a little bit over-eager there. Slots in behind Dam's Racing teammate from Belgium, the winner of this year's Mini-Max division in the Champions Winter Trophy, Dayan Habits from Belgium in the 131. 12 minutes plus an additional lap of this 1,450 metre, 13 turn clockwise circuit will set the tone and the cadence for what might happen tomorrow. The red lights are on the starting gantry, ready to go out when we get given the signal to go racing. As we start the afternoon's action for day 1. Revs up, lights on, and we go green here in the final. To the outside goes Joshua Cook. Tries to get through on Austin Amman, but unfortunately, the 175 from KR Sport ends up finding himself behind one of the Dams Racing contingents, Zayn Safoglu, currently up to P4. Well, the youngster from Turkey has done an absolutely brilliant blinding start, and he's right behind the winner of the Champions Winter Trophy in the Mini-Max division this season. And now there goes through the 177, Teddy Murphy at turn 8. So change of position. Zayn Safoglu holding on to 5th place at the moment. As we now see the field head down the hill through turns 11, 12 and 13. And after the opening lap is completed, it is Austin Amman that leads. Joshua Cook, Dayan Habits, Teddy Murphy being hounded by the youngster from Turkey, the number 54 of Zayn Safoglu. Tristan Abiels in P6. Oh, but August Lickebo-Lingzo is in the pit lane. Oh, don't tell me it's either an HT lead or it's a spark plug. Oh no! Drama has struck the Dane when he did not need it at the beginning of the season. But we have got a yellow flag. Drama at turn 3. Driver has managed to get going again. That might be Chloe Malling Sorensen in the number 7 in Mini Rookie. She's running under the One Racing banner. The team, well, it's another division of RS competition with Robert Schlunzen, part of the organising team with this year's Rotax Max Challenge Winter Trophy that heads to Vojens in Denmark on the first weekend of April. Entries are still open. all 6 classes. The winner in each one will get a ticket to this year's Rotax Max Challenge International Trophy at Le Mans this summer. Meantime, Joshua Cook closing in on Austin, Oman. The Sam Pollitt Racing 121 is still leading as we are on to lap number 3. Day and Habits is half a second back. But there has been a change because now looks like Teddy Murphy and Lenny Barton have made their way past Zane Safoglu, who is down into 6th position in the number 54. The conga train is coming, and it's a little bit further back from Day and Habits. The top 3, after 3 laps, covered by just over 0.6 of a second. Joshua Cook is really trying to close on in to Austin Oman, who sets the best lap of the race so far. 1 minute 1.605 from the youngster from the United Kingdom. And now there's been a further change. Teddy Murphy drops from 4th to 6th, behind Lenny Barton and Zane Safoglu. Maria Roberto rounds out the top 7, ahead of LBJ Stubbs, Tristan Abeels, and the 114 of Charlie Page. But there's been further dramas for, looks like, Zane Safoglu and Tristan Abeels. Well, Zane Safoglu's dropped down the order. Teddy Murphy's now down to 7th. Maria Roberto up to P5, head of LBJ Stubbs. Josh Cook is keeping the pressure firmly on the shoulders of Austin Oman from Sam Pollitt Racing as they continue their tete-a-tete squirrel here in eastern France. The gap last time around was 6/100ths of a second when they crossed the line to complete lap number 4. Oman goes sub 17 seconds in the opening sector. Joshua Cook is not letting the youngster from Sam Pollitt Racing get away. Nearly opened the door, did Oman, for Cook going through into turn number 8. So 5 minutes down, 7 to go, plus an additional lap. And Lenny Barton, who at the minute has just found out that it's not easy as a mini rookie to drive with the other competitors in this, when you have a combined total of 26 runners and riders in the mini rookie and the mini max division. And one of the reasons to bring micro in as a rookie division within mini was to allow bigger grids to race together, and that over the last few seasons has brought in nearly bumper completely packed grids. Oh, and there is a drama. SP Motorsports, Julian Janssen from the Netherlands, arms up in the air saying, "Why me?" and he walks away from the kart. And that is just off of turn number 6. Meantime, Oman and Cook, they have been no more than 2.5 of a second apart since we started this race. Oh, Evert van Middendorp going 180 degrees and pointing in the wrong direction out of turn 13 on the Maranello chassis. A big kick up of dirt. Still yellow flags at turn 6 and 7, so no overtaking permitted. I don't know whether Evert van Middendorp was trying to do an audition for Travis Pastrana's next Gymkhana video on that one. However, Cook and Oman, tete-a-tete, driver versus driver, and keep your eyes on Day and Habits. that gap has started to dwindle. It was just under half a second last time around. But nevertheless, this is giving a big chunk of motivation into the mind of Dejan Habits. Because if something happens out in front of the 131, then he'll be able to react instinctively without hesitation if he needs to pick up the pieces of what may transpire in front. Not that he would want to will that on anybody. A driver will want to win on the road and not through the misfortune of others. So we're now into the final third of the race. There's a little bit of an indent on Dejan Habits' front bumper. Now, sometimes it can be the case that you might get a dent on the bumper. But here we go. Lap number 9, turn 3. Joshua Cook goes late on the brakes, dives to the right-hand side at turn 3 on Austin Oman. Job done. However, that's where the work truly begins. And now Austin Oman returns the favour 5 corners later at turn 8. And now, again, well, that gap that was half a second at the beginning of this tour on lap number 9 between second and third has more than just been halved. It's been brought down to an absolute slither of a gap. And to the inside at turn 12, Dejan Habits attempted to get through on Joshua Cook, but there was not enough opportunity to go the 131's way. Ryan Townsend, in the meantime, take a bow as now another change for the race lead. This time out of turn 9, and Austin Oman will drop from first. Will that be to third? Not quite, because at turn 10, Dejan Habits ran a little bit deep, and Austin Oman was able to take the position back. Well, no, maybe make that turn 3. So again, through in towards the chicane they go. More curb taken by Austin Oman in comparison with the 2 drivers that are sandwiching him in at the minute. Raphael Hardouin up 12 places as Dejan Habits now finds the move through at turn number 11 out of 13 here on lap 10. 3 laps to go. And now Austin Oman returns back to second, ahead of Dejan Habits. Ryan Townsend, 18 places gained, started 25th, now runs a genuine 7th on pace. Arlo Gamble started on the outside of row 10 in 20th position. He now runs 9th. And that is ahead of the 159 of the highest out of 2 French drivers in this field. Gabriel Rollet in the number 159, who rounds out the top 10. And now Joshua Cook is able to stride away slightly into the distance, might be able to see that light at the end of the tunnel. And that light is now to the tier of 0.6 of a second, and Joshua has just also put in the fastest lap of this race. A 1 minute 1.038 on lap number 11. The timer has officially hit 0. Here in the first out of 4 finals. Here on the opening day of the season start for 2026. 1.45 kilometres remain as Joshua Cook from KR Sport leads us on to the final lap at breakneck speed. Goes him, Austin Aman, and the last driver in the top three, Dams Racing's Dayan Habits. Oh, but there has been drama in Mini Rookie. Lenny Barton has just tumbled down to 13th position as Arlo Gamble, the defending Mini Rookie champion from 2025, now runs 8th, ahead of Gabriel Wallet. Teddy Murphy in 10th, about 2.7 seconds in front of Zain Safoglu, who at one point was genuinely competing for P3. But after 13 laps of racing, one driver is going to be there when it comes to taking the win. Out of turn 12, out of turn 13, it's victory for KR Sport and Joshua Cook, who wins the final on day one by over 4.5 tenths of a second. Austin Aman P2. Oh, and it was a run to the line. LBJ Stubbs, Pips Maria Roberto, and Charlie Page for 4th. They were covered by 0.143 of a second, a tenth and a half. But it is Joshua Cook that rules the roost here on day one. Round one of the series. He wins after 13 laps by 0.46 of a second. Austin Aman and Dayan Habits round out your top three. LBJ Stubbs, Maria Roberto, Charlie Page, and Ryan Townsend, who made a catapult move up the order. 18 places from 25th to 7th. Arlo Gamble wins in Mini Rookie for the first final of the season. In 8th, Gabriel Wallet, Teddy Murphy. Zain Safoglu finishes 2nd in Rookie. P11 overall ahead of Multiholm, Tristan Abils. Lenny Barton comes across the line to finish in 14th. P3 in the Mini Rookie class, with Mila de Cosmaker rounding out your top 15. Raphael Hardouin, Henry Mayat, Maxime Ball, Arthur Bowers, Jayan Prakash, they round out your top 20. Kan Aras Akun, Evert van Middendorp, Chloe Malley Sorensen, and Omer Mezudieli rounding out the 24 runners and riders that made it to the end of 13 laps, with Julian Janssen retiring with 8 laps to go and August Likibo-Lingzo out after 4 laps. But Joshua Cook rules the roost for KR Sport in Minimax here at the end of day one.
Why do you come here? Is this your career?
Or is it all about fun? A chance to get away and leave it all behind?
Or do you chase your personal best? Challenging yourself over and over again. Why do you come here?
Maybe you're here to collect moments. Good ones. And not so good ones.
Or you can't afford mistakes because you want that victory. It's all about this one moment when the hard work finally pays off.
This is the place that brings us closer to the people who share our story. Whoever we are,
Whatever we're here for, racing is who we are.
Minimax and Minimax Rookie, they never fail to deliver, don't they? Well, that's one final in the books here for day one, round one of BNL Karting Series 2026 here at Racing Kart JPR in Austricourt in France. But now we turn our attention to our next division, and it's DD2 and DD2 Masters. There's Yannick Jacobs from Germany, man who has competed for the squad in many a grand final. And great to see that in the off-season he's gotten married and has a little kid as well. So fatherhood now another responsibility that this man has. But his dad is always a character, and it's great to see them. And Yannick is one of those people that has a very, very kind-hearted. And it doesn't matter if he's having a bad day in the office, there is always a smile on that man's face. So, of course, this being the only gearbox kart division that we have in Rotax, obviously 125cc Rotax Max Evo engines, partnered with a 2-speed gearbox. So no chain and sprockets like we have in the other classes. But of course the results from the pre-final, which was in its own right very, very entertaining indeed, because it was decided between two SP Motorsport teammates, and between them 0.2 of a second. And when you consider that Jim Ringelberg, who won the DD2 Masters title back in 2015, was only 1.1 seconds behind them. So we are just over 40 seconds from the green flag waving on the dummy grid, and there we see our assembled cast and crew of the DD2 and DD2 Masters divisions. So the engines fire up, and with that, time to take you through the starting grid for the DD2 and DD2 Masters final for day number one. Starting on pole position, Ralph van der Pavert will lead his SP Motorsport teammates alongside him on the front row into battle into turn one. Jort van Wyk, Nicolas Guillaume and Len Noyes will round out row number two, both from Belgium. Yannick Jacobs from Germany and Theo Lemoigne from France will round out row number 3. Jim Ringelberg will be joined by the defending DD2 Masters champion Christophe Capitan, and they will complete row number 4. Row 5 completing your top 10, Theo Lang and Jeffrey Solon, with Christoph Adams, Pepin Riedman and Gwen Blogsile rounding out the 13 strong. Had a quick chat with Gwen during the lunch break, and I asked her what exactly happened. She said, well, basically, someone caught me unawares and literally drove over the cart. So hence why she retired on the spot. So that would probably say to me that either something happened with regards to the drivetrain, or maybe the steering thereof, which was subsequently and consequentially damaged through that incident that took place. And looks like we got Martin Enger, Van der Schaik, go, Jort van Wyk. There we go. That is the longest YouTube ID I've seen for anyone on the platform. Thank you very much, Martin, for joining us, or Martine, whichever. However, 15 minutes plus an additional lap. Every single one of the drivers will be running on the Mojo D5 CIK FIA homologated tyres. So they did have a 10-minute pre-final. Now we up it by a further 5 minutes. So sometimes you've got to try and echo a little bit more of a consistency when it comes to lap times, rather than going all out belts and braces to set the fastest lap. So, all SP Motorsport front row as they slowly come through and crawl their way out of turn number 13. It is time for revs up, lights on, and we are green for the finale here on day number 1. And Nicolas Guillaume, he had his elbows out and shoulders too. He muscled his way past Jort van Wyk into turn 1. Yannick Jacobs trying to go through, possibly on Len Nyes. He's gone to the outside of Van Wyk. He's gone slightly off circuit. Jacobs is through. Ringelberger's got to be very, very careful on this opening lap so he does not lose the lead in the Masters division. Looks like he's still got Christophe Capitan behind him, which is very much the case. The field makes its way through the chicane for the first time. Bumping and boring. And good to see our friends at WFR Live TV are also keeping an eye on the YouTube chat, folks. So, and so am I. But after the first lap, Van der Pavert is leading the way. Guillaume is going to close on in. And the gap was just under 0.2 of a second after the opening tour of 1,450 metres here at Austricourt. And here goes Van Wyk to the inside of Guillaume. But he had to maybe wait a little bit for that to happen. And the reason why I say that is the fact that Yannick Jacobs might have had the opportunity to dive to the inside. And now, change for the race lead. Through at turn 8. Guillaume hits the front. Van Wyk goes to P2. Van der Pavert down to 3rd. Len Nyes battling away with Theo Lemoine. And Lemoine gets through on Van der Pavert. What's happened to Van der Pavert? Is he slowing? What's going on here for the 468 who put it on pole after a mesmerising performance? Oh dear, Yannick Jacobs. Watch your left rear tyre on the dust coming out of turn 13. But now Guillaume versus Van Wyk into turn 3 here on lap 3. Now into the double left here at 4 and 5. Watch the bump and the run into 6. There's the little bump now. Guillaume looked very, very settled on the GKS Esprit chassis. And Van Wyk doing exactly what he did in the pre-final. He was launching it over those curves at the chicane at turn number 9. But keep your eyes on the danger driver in third. Here he comes with a big lick of speed. It's Len Noyes for Shepherds Racing Racing BV, who's just set the fastest lap of the race. Van Wyck's through for the race lead. Len Noyes trying to go towards the outside. Into turn 4. That nearly opened the door for Yannick Jacobs in the 401. Oh, and through turn 6. It's a hop, skip and a jump. And Len Noyes nearly got through on Nicolas Guillaume, but he lost the place. One wrong move. And it's like a game of hopscotch. Either you do get to the end or you don't. But I've got a bit of a gut feeling that these drivers, we thought the pre-final was a doozy. This could be an absolute classic, as I think that was Christophe Capitan running wide, coming out of turn number 13, touching the left rear wheel onto the dust, to the big amount of dirt that is off of turn 13. So now it's a case of digging your spurs and get galloping away. But that's not quite happening for the lead. There's going to be a change. Guillaume through on Van Wyck at turn 8, lap 5. God, these guys are absolutely flying through that chicane. Everyone seems to be airborne and sideways at the same time. Here comes Len Noyes. Watch out for Yannick Jacobs. Len Noyes to the outside at turn 11. Oh, that was a beautiful move. Round the outside went the 417 on the 433. And Van Wyck now has to contend with Jacobs, who is right up his exhaust pipe. And now, oh, diving in the inside. Here goes Yannick Jacobs. The German gets the buy one, get one free special. Noyes went for the move on Van Wyck. Yannick Jacobs did not hesitate one iota. And he said, thank you very much. I'll take that every day of the week. Through at turn 8. Noyes gets through on Van Wyck, who's dropped behind Lemoyne and the recovering Van der Pavert. The first 5 minutes, absolutely crazy stuff we're seeing at the front end of the field. Because now, I think in the word, when you activate 2-player on Street Fighter 2, it's like, here comes the new challenger, and that new challenger is Germany's Yannick Jacobs. 6 minutes down, 9 to go. And when you think about it in terms of the field that we have, reference DD2, the two drivers at the sharp end, they have battled for more than their fair share of DD2 class titles. So, lap 7 in the books. And we are not over by a damn long sight. And now Len Noyes comes back into play to the outside at 6. That was brave from Yannick Jacobs. And now, could there be an opportunity? Discretion is the better part of valor, but patience rewards those who wait enough. Theo Lemoyne tried to get through. Oh, right. Nicolas Guillaume, right rear side, rear bumper, dragging on the ground. And he gets a mechanical black flag. Oh, what could have been a victory has just been taken away from him. And it might have been just the slightest amount of contact that has allowed Yannick Jacobs and Jort Van Wyck to get through. Van Wyck's got a slightly skew-if Nassau panel. He gets through for P2. Yannick Jacobs now third. Ralph van der Pavert, P4. Theo Lemoigne, P5 at the minute. But unfortunately for Belgium's Nicolas Guillaume, the game for day one in the final, due to a flailing right-hand side of the rear bumper, the 491 from GKS Lemons Power, unfortunately has had to park it in the pit lane. Now, when you think about it, the most accomplished driver within the top 5 is the 401, Yannick Jacobs. He's been RMC Germany DD2 champion back in 2023. I was there when he was vice champion in 2024, and also he did the same thing in 2022. So when you put experience into a conversation, my mind straight away goes to the 401 from Kraft Motorsport. And he followed 2 years after a certain Mats Johan Overhoff picked up the E20 Senior Grand Finals Championship, which I was there alongside the voice of the Grand Finals himself, Henry Baudet, when Mats Johan Overhoff went toe-to-toe with Team UK's Spencer Brorum, who I remember commentating on at the Bambino Kart Club Winter Cup at Wilton Mill 2018. And then all of a sudden, I'm in the booth with Henry at Bahrain as he qualified through the last round of the Euro Trophy that year as a wild card entry for winning the E20 Senior Weekend at the home of British karting. But Len Noyes at the moment, he does have a 1 second advantage. However, with 4.5 minutes to go, if you do see that those intervals do change, and I'm looking at the lap times, Noyes is quicker than both Van Wyk and Jacobs. A 56.6 for Noyes, 56.7 for Van Wyk, probably mid-tier, 56.9 for Jacobs. Van der Pavert is catching though, and he's bringing along Lemoigne for the ride. Noyes just goes purple in Sector 2. So we are coming down to the last 3 minutes and 20 seconds, plus an additional lap. We're now currently on lap number 13. Noyes again. New fastest lap of the race, 56.558. And he didn't set, if I remember correctly, I don't think he set a purple sector in either of the three. But now, Len Noyes looks to be rather comfortable, rather settled. He did make a one-off return to senior Rotax, and I spoke to the team boss at Shepherd's Racing Service BV. I said, what happened with him? Yeah, well, there's 3 arms that around the spindle of the clutch, and one was broken and was flailing around in the clutch mechanism, so he didn't have the drive off the corners. So when you put the accelerator down, the spindle and the push plate in the middle activates to give the traction through the back axle, And for Len Noyes, it was 66% optimal. Not 100% optimal, 2/3 of that. The one in the meantime has just gone purple in the middle sector. Jort van Wyk has gone purple in sector number 1. So the gap is slowly but surely coming down. However, time waits for no driver. Karting giveth and karting taketh away all at the same time it can. And well, we've got a development in Masters. Christophe Capitat is all the way down in the last classified position with regards to drivers on track. He's down 4 places from starting 8th. He's now running 12th and down at the back end of the field. But things are getting very, very close between Jacobs, Van der Pavert and Lemoyne for P3 to P5. Van der Pavert to the inside, Lemoyne to the inside at turn 10. Yannick Jacobs went a little bit possibly deep on that one, but we have 2 laps to go here in the DD2 and DD2 Masters final. Van der Pavert now P3, but he is 2.3 seconds plus a little bit of change behind Jort van Wyk. As we count down from 15 minutes to 0, and Len Noyes now will head down to turn 10. Timer has expired. But still there's 1.45 kilometres, 13 turns in a clockwise direction comprising of 3 sectors. That will then bring us to the checkered flag. Final lap underway. Van der Pavert and Lemoyne line astern through into turn 1. The 4.68 having a little bit of an advantage over the 4.35. But at the minute with Len Noyes, he is over 7/10 of a second ahead. Make that now 9/10 of a head. Tenths ahead of Jort van Wyk. Ralph van der Pavert leading the 2-kart train for P3. But some great action to start off the first half of this race. And it will be out of the final corner. Len Noyes wins the final on day 1. Jort van Wyk and Ralph van der Pavert round out the top 3 for SP Motorsport. Theo Lemoyne rounding out 4th, ahead of Theo Lang. Yannick Jacobs finishing in 6th at the end of it. Jim Ringelberg picks up his first win in DD2 Masters, maybe in a handful of years now, Jim. And he takes P7. Jeffrey Salon, Pepin Reidman, Christophe Adams and Christophe Capitan round out your top 11. More importantly, your top 3 in Masters. Gwen Bloxall continued to the end of the race, where she finished just under 19.6 seconds behind the eventual winner Len Noyes, with Nicolas Guillaume unfortunately out with 9 laps remaining.
Immatriculation français GQ 788 et A est prêt de déplacer son véhicule immédiatement car il bloque l'accès ici à la circuit. Merci beaucoup.
Right, okay. Time for our next race, which is now the Junior Rotax Final. 36 competitors will race for the next 12 minutes, plus an additional lap. Let's take you through the starting grid. Finley Line starts from pole position. Alongside him on the front row will be Alfie Ward, Sebastian Clark, Albert Friend, Luan Seidel, Lieke van Berkel, Ludwig Hansson, Jensen Chalk, Kian Bernard, Riley Morrow, Leo Hardouin, Lucian Smith, Trent Van Melick, Louis Radcliffe, Vlades Pascu, Harry Taylor, Gillian Dumas, Nathan Lecure, Yanis Courage, Finn Albert Jorgensen, Bruce Ramboa, Lionel Munguia, Yenthi Moonen, Justin Fonk, Dion Bracker, Jensen Walker, Didier Dadala, Leon Herbos, Tobias Johns, Moussé Loris Perron, Ozan Alpasalan, Augustine Hanik, Max Bogsal, Lian Vandenberger, Roslan Stryer and Sam Kohler round out the 36 strong grid. And more to the point, it meant that Matthias Verreken would be classified 37th and would not make it through to the top 36 final. This is going to be a very, very interesting 12-minute plus an additional lap race. And after this, it will then showcase how tomorrow will transpire here at Austricor at Racing Kart JPR. when these drivers go into battle, hold on, grab your popcorn of choice and your cold drink of preference, because this could be one to really put things in motion for the Junior Rotax division for 2026. It's an all KR Sport front row, with the only driver in the top 4 being from Dan Holland Racing on the outside of row 2. We go, revs up, lights on, and the Junior Rotax final is underway. Good start by Finley Lines. Sebastian Clark follows in his wheel tracks. Luan Seidel also gets through. So Alfie Ward ends up down in 6th. Maybe make that even more than that as Finley Lines sweeps to the outside of turn 3, holds on to the race lead. Sebastian Clark signalling. Oh, we've got an incident at turn 3. One of which, 210, Yenthimoonen. I think maybe also someone from a little bit further up the order. But Finley Lines is trying to gallop away into the distance. So at the moment, Finley Lines, after the ranking after heats, was the first driver to score a maximum of 55 points. And now it's a top 3 lockout for KR Sport. However, through on Lieke van Berkel. That was the 282. Sam Pollitt Racing's Kian Bernard. He's made up now 4 places from 9th, runs P5. Sam Kohler from the UK has made mincemeat of at least nearly half the field already. He's up 16 places and now rounds out the top 20. But Finley Lines trying to keep a hold of this race lead. And at this early stage, it is easier said than done. Kian Bernard has got pressure from behind. That's courtesy of SP Motorsports. Lieke van Berkel from the Netherlands. And trying to stick their nose up the inside of Sebastian Clark. They're on lap 3 at turn 8. Luan Seidel from Switzerland. And he's got Albert Friend to the inside at turn 10. And Friend is through for 3rd place. Fastest lap of the race so far, 58.832. That is by Yenthimoonen. Down in 29th, but that's changed. Harry Taylor has just taken that. Oh, Ludwig Hansson. Ludwig Hansson, the Dane, has tumbled down the order and has ended up 26th. But in the meantime, well, Albert Friend has gotten through on Luan Seidel, but it's cost him and the Swiss driver in the 2:21 time in comparison with Finley Lines and Sebastian Clark, who lead the way. Dion Bracker gets a warning flag from race control, the driver from the Netherlands. Oh, no. Oh, that was side by side between, I think, Kian Bernard and Lieke van Berkel. And Van Berkel ended up going off circuit. And as a result of that, Van Berkel's dropped down to 9th, ahead of Finn Albert Jorgensen, who's now hit the top 10 for the very first time. Here goes Luan Seidel on the inside of turn 3. Retakes the 3rd position as the Swiss driver from KR Sport, as MLC Motorsports Jensen Chalk sets the new fastest lap of this race. 58 4.90 for the 218. But still, there is plenty of time left in this race for drivers to pick their moment and back through again. Turn 10, Albert Friend gets through on Luan Seidel, but then there's a bit of musical chairs between the two from KR Sport. Sebastian Clark got through at turn 11 on Finley Lines to take the lead. Lines took it back on the next corner. Clark now through at turn 1. We've got a real race on our hands, and he's pointing, saying to Lines, saying, just get ahead of me. We don't want Albert Friend coming in and being a red rag to a red rag to a bull, so to speak, or throwing a bull into the nearby local china shop. Because what will happen, all the crockery will be smashed to smithereens. But still, 6 minutes and 20 seconds to go. All that battling has put Finley Lines back in the race lead. But this is about how calm you keep your head on those shoulders. And that's all these young drivers in question. They've got to be very, very mindful, very wary about their close by surroundings. One wrong move, you could get a tap on the wheel, it spins you round. You open the door, someone's going to go through on you. You make a mistake and you cause a collision. Oh, dearie me! Albert Friend went way too deep in there at turn 6. And then Finley Lines ends up exit stage right off of the outside curbing. It might have been a little bit of a slightly late lunge, but if Albert Friend saw that there was enough room, and I think, yes, there was enough room, he got alongside on the apex, but still, he's still leading. But at the moment, he's got Kian Bernard to the outside. Oh, that nearly was contact between him and Luan Seidel. Bernard was wrestling with the steering wheel like nobody's business, trying to get through on Albert Friend, and Luan Seidel said, peekaboo, here I am. And believe you me, this is not an easy game of hide and seek for junior Rotax drivers to play. Oh no. This is where it's about who wants it the most, who wants those bragging rights. And any one of the drivers that are in at least the top 10 can go for the win here. And look at the train of purple, white and silver from third backwards. Here goes Kian Bernard. He tried the old Nigel Mansell dummy, and Albert Friend was wise to that one. This is not going to stop Bernard from giving up, though. No, no, no. Finley Lines now starting to claw his way back up the field. He's up to 4th. And when you think about it, that KR Sport have brought some serious numbers here this weekend, it was a case of, was there going to be the fact that something's got to give? Albert Friend gets a black and white warning flag from race control. Runs a little bit wide out of the final corner. Oh, Kian Bernard, 2 wheels on the grass, on the run with the throttle fully lit. He managed to hold on. And now, look, the conga line a la Junior Rotax has started here at Ostricor. I count at least 15 carts. Oh my goodness me. It reminds me of one of the races at Kart Masters alongside Henry Baudet in 2019, where the entire field, well, most of the field, about the top 25, were covered by 10 seconds. Top 26, after 9 laps, covered by 9.6 seconds. Top 16, covered by 2.8. Well, the youngsters have had more than their ready breakfast this morning. And a few of these drivers, quite a few, were racing at Cremona for the opening round of the Euro Trophy this year last week in Italy. All I'm going to say is, if you're holding on to the edge of your seat, you might be holding on until your knuckles turn white, because that is what we have in store here for this penultimate final here on day one of the opening round of the 2026 season. Three laps remaining. Friend leads. Bernard, Seidel, keep your eyes on lines in fourth. And what Albie Friend is doing at the moment, he's putting that car half on, half off the racing line to cover off Bernard. Now, in some respects, people might think, well, that might be a little bit sneaky. No, he's the race leader. And in some respects, he does have an opportunity to provide his preference on how much of the racing line he actually wants to cover. And at the moment, Albert Friend is just looking forward. Kian Bernard looks to have the US Marines version of the 1,000-yard stare behind that tinted visor. 2 laps to go. This is going to be a close finish. Because if Bernard starts pressurising... Oh, there's Redeka Kart Racing Team's Lionel Munguia, who's had an exit stage left off of turn number 13, as now Kian Bernard has decided, right, let's go and race, shall we, guys? Gets through, runs a little bit wide through turn 7. Albert Friend to the outside. Oh, Kian Bernard missteps, and it nearly causes a concertina effect behind. Finley Lines had to rescue that one as they head into turn 10. Here on what is lap number 13 out of 14. As all, side by side. Oh, dearie me, and Finley Lines has mugged a lot of them. And then all of a sudden, Alfie Ward says, hang on, hold my Coke Zero. A sea of purple and white with a little bit of black, a little bit of yellow in between as we are on the final lap. And you could have hedged your bets if you were a betting man or a betting individual that maybe an outside bet would have gone for this little horse here, the 219 of Albert Friend. And maybe you could be right. Round over to turn 10 for the final time. Down the hill we go. And who'd have thought it? KR Sport had dominated the most of the day, but in the final where it matters the most, it's Albert Friend that wins for DHR. Sam Pollitt Racing and KR Sport represented in the top 3. Kian Bernard from the inside of row 5 to second. Luan Seidel, the youngster from Switzerland, takes P3. Alfie Ward and Finley Lines round out your top 5. Harry Taylor started from the outside of row number 8 and finishes in 6th position. Lieke van Berkel, Lucian Smith, Riley Morrow and Sebastian Clark round out your overall top 10. Ranes Pascu, Bruce Ramboa, Sam Kohler from the back of the grid to 14th. Incredible for the 284. Finishing ahead of Jensen Chalk, who rounds out your top 15. Trent Van Melek, Jensen Walker, Leo Hardois, Nathan Lecuro, Jens Moonen rounds out your top 20. Yannis Courage, Justin Fonk, Leon Herboz, Moussé Loris Perron, Julien Dumas, Louis Radcliffe, Lionel Munguia, Augustin Hanik, Ludwig Hansson, Ruslan Sraya, and Dion Bracker, Tobias Jones, Ozan Absalan, Didier Dadale, Max Bogsal, and Yilan Vandenberger do all get to the end of the race. And what's more, it was a 19.8 seconds covering first to 36th. But Albert Friend from Dan Holland Racing wins the final on round 1, day 1.
Why do you come here? Is this your career?
Or is it all about fun? A chance to get away and leave it all behind?
Or do you chase your personal best? Challenging yourself over and over again. Why do you come here?
Maybe you're here to collect moments. Good ones. And not so good ones.
Or you can't afford mistakes because you want that victory. It's all about this one moment when the hard work finally pays off.
This is the place that brings us closer to the people who share our story. Whoever we are,
Whatever we're here for, racing is who we are.
Oh, that was very entertaining, that Junior Rotax top final for day 1. Right. We are 3.5 minutes away from the top 36 final for the Senior Rotax division. 42 drivers have come to Austriacor this weekend. And following on from the classification after the heats, we did unfortunately lose 6 drivers, which are as follows: Max Sedersky, Jalderiga Risgaard, Luca de Moitru, Liam van Hecke, Raymer van Beek and Thomas Verheyen. I have to say, Thomas has had the worst luck in the first round of the championship season on day 1. But this and the final tomorrow is going to decide who, well, it'll basically conclude day 1 and day 2 of the opening round of the series before we head on to Karting d'Espagne, and we'll be reunited with the team at the circuit, run by Thierry Lepine in the Gauvin region of southern Belgium, around about a 20 to 25 minute drive from Givet in France. And that will be the 17th to the 19th of April, and will nicely bring us to the halfway point of the season. There's Ryan Gandor, the man from Canada, more based in the UK these days, just outside of Silverstone in Towcester in Northamptonshire. And he has had to fight his way back during the whole of the day after what was quite I think, say, topically interesting qualifying session for the seniors. But that is now water under the bridge, past tense as of today. And now we can get on with racing for this weekend. And there's going to be a couple of changes for something very, very nice that has been discussed and is being implemented. It was discussed over the winter period, but you'll have to find out what that is tomorrow, folks. Ryan Gandor qualified out of 42 drivers, 41st. So it has not been easy. There's Sverre Ubben, who, unfortunately, in his last heat, the chain fell off of the sprocket, and that stopped the 348 for GKS Levens Power, who have a nice new design of race suit, more white than there is yellow, so a bit of a change for 2026. So the engines fire up, and here we go. Let's take you through the grid for the top 36 senior Rotax final. It's going to take place over a duration of 15 minutes, plus an additional lap. Tied on points, but based on the count back in qualifying, Thijs van Wijk starts from pole position. Scott Marsh alongside on the front row. Vince van der Halle and Kenneth van Monkerke round out row 2. Tom Langlois and Bastien Mesnil, row 3. Harry Freeman, Crick Noren, Raphael Moreau and Bran van der Weken round out your top 10. Louis Oliver Gunther, Sverre Ubben, Antoine Lemieux, Macaulay Bishop, Boris Verhaag, Tino Sidler, Lars Lambers, Arnold Sebaha, Danny Shields and Ryan Gandor round out your overall top 20. Then the final 16 drivers. From 21st, it's Boaz Maximov, followed by Victor Galmiche, Koen Willems, Matthias Jellerup, Arav Dewan sporting the Mumbai Falcons on his race suit. Had a nice little chat with him earlier. Lado Kohanidze, Ryan Bourguignon, Antoine Taron, Augustin Boulet, Rain van der Meer, Connor Large, Callum Sims, Tino Potier, Priam Lalang, Vic van Kampenhout, and the last driver to make it in by 4 points, Strawberry Racing's Charlie King brings up the rear of the field. Right. The field now starts to get into the rolling start. 2 by 2, side by side. What sports car racing likes to call an Indianapolis style start. But 15 minutes plus an additional lap. This is going to be hard charging, full throttle, all the way to the checkered. Van Wyk and Marsh on the front row. Red lights on the gantry. Here we go for 15 minutes plus an additional lap. We go from red to green. We're underway. Van Wyk leads and through into second position. Vince van der Halle gets the steal on Scott Marsh. And look at the field making its way through into turn 3 for the first time. Van Wyk leads. Oh, and there's been a little bit of drama in the mid-pack. Maybe a little bit further back. There's a couple of carts grass tracking and using the Joker lap. But Thijs Van Wyk got the perfect start. Van der Halle through on Scott Marsh. Looks like Bastien Mesnil is up into P4. Tom Langlois, his countryman, and also a former alumni of Dams Racing. The G-Kart now running with G-Kart 53 on the Sodi kart. Rounds out the top 5. Down the hill we go to complete the opening lap. Van Wyk looking very, very quickly over his right shoulder. The freight train is a-coming, folks, and it ain't stopping for nobody. Now it's a case of peekaboo ICU. And now Langlois trying to get the switchback on Mesnil. Through at turn 4. Now into 6 and 7. There's a few times when I've seen a couple of drivers go wheel to wheel, side by side, and it has been, let's just say, a heart in the mouth moment. There is another way that I could say it, but I'm not going to mention what it is. However, this is now an opportunity for some of these drivers to put on their big boy pants or big girl pants and go for it. And now Van Wyk has got a lead of nearly 0.4 of a second. We're now at 14 degrees air ambient temperature, so that's going to help the grip and the purchase and the evolution of the circuit. A little bit further back, Harry Freeman trying to go through on the inside of Antoine Lemieux from Canada. And the 303 looks to have dropped down into 10th position. But it is Van Wyk leading the way. Oh. We've had now someone was out of the cart trying to push it forward in the front of the shot that we just caught a glimpse of. So Augustin Boulet is out of the race. Arav Dewan is all the way down in 35th. What's happened to Boris Maximov? Oh my dear goodness me. Boris Maximov, Antoine Tajon, Connor Large, as now we see Scott Marsh, who has got the fastest lap of the race so far. 57. 6:01. There is still plenty of this race to go. However, it's dependent on just picking those strategy calls. If you can make it work, great. If you can't, okay, find a way to make it work. That is not as easy as you all might think. However, as Patrick Verbis is spamming the chat again, reference Bran van der Weken, and Van der Weken is down in 16th. Top 3 covered by just over 0.3 of a second after lap 4. Now Marsh for the lead. Up the inside of Van Wyk. Keep your eyes on Van... Oh, well, the pair of them between them, I've never seen Vince van der Halle have such an easy overtake for a very, very long time. It was like Marsh and... It was like the parting of the seas. Only Moses wasn't involved. It was Thijs Van Wyk and Scott Marsh. That just goes to show how quickly, on a sixpence, a race can be in the favour of yourself or be in the favour of somebody else. Meantime, lap 5 is completed. Again, half a second. Covers the top 3. Lars Lambers is now up 11 spots. Runs P6. So a nice move by Taze van Wyk through on Scott Marsh. 6 minutes down. 9 minutes plus an additional lap remaining on the counter for these drivers. Van Wyk through for the race lead. But will Van der Halle get back through? The answer is yes. So lap 7, we head through the chicane at turn number 9, and all of the top 3, Van der Halle, Van Wyk and Marsh, all able to bump over the high curbing on the left-hand side of that chicane, making their way through. However, as I said, with a longer race, it's over double the time that the drivers have had on their respective qualifying heats. So you tell me, who do you think might win this race? Van der Halle gets passed by Van Wyk. And Van der Halle seems to have good purchase, good traction coming out of turn number 3. But on that particular occasion, it was Taze van Wyk that managed to get through. Harry Freeman in 10th position, ahead of Antoine Lemieux, has just put in the fastest lap of the race. 57.222. And then goes and puts in a purple sector 1 on the following lap. But still at points. This circuit can be very, very bumpy. But we're more than halfway through this race, and these drivers know exactly what their modus operandi is. To the lead at turn 3, lap 7. Through goes Van der Halle once again. Now Scott Marsh might pay him dividends if he waits patiently, but is not too patient in doing so. Maybe leave it 2 to 4 laps and then go, right, I need to, I want to make sure that I start off today with a win under my belt in the final. Then that will help him no end. But still, it is very much a dogfight at the front end of the field. And more to the point, well, we've had a couple of drivers fall by the wayside, unfortunately. 358, Boris Maximov is one of them. Antoine Tarrant has also ended up out of the race. Connor Lodge is the last driver out on circuit in 33rd position. But still, you never know what might occur. And if with 2 to 3 minutes plus an additional lap remaining, it may be the case that the top three, Van der Halle, Van Wijk and Marsh, who knows what might happen. Van Wijk through to the inside once again. Quick look over the right-hand shoulder by Okay, biggest movers up the order so far. Lars Lambers up 10 spots from 17th at the start, now runs P7. Ryan Bourguignon started 27th, now 15th, as there could be a possibility of change. There is, because Van Wijk is in the race lead. Vince van der Halle and Scott Marsh trading places like it's going out of fashion. So 33 out of the original 36 strong that's so as I was saying, Charlie King up last to 19th. He's done that in there's probably something that you need to sort of look at in that kind of respect, but this is where the drivers, there's a lot of people might say, well, yeah, it can get a bit robust in the senior Rotax division. Yes, that's kind of how the game is slightly played, if you will, but they still have to watch overtaking and a few other things, along with track limits, along with pushing to pass. But Vince van der Halle is getting closer and closer to Thijs van Wijk. What's van der Halle going to do here? The young Belgium, does he try the switchback? He won't do it on the Dutch driver from SP Motorsport. And look who's come along with them for the ride once again. It is Scott Marsh in the 347. He's trying to use everything of his know-how to give him that 3000 IQ strat or whatever to get that move done. So here goes Scott Marsh wheel to wheel with Boris Maximov. So we have just over a minute left to go, plus that additional lap, so that will make it 3 by my counts. But the timer is counting down. We've only got just under 60 seconds plus 1 additional lap remaining. More to the point, if you can get into the top 10 in this first race day of the year, you might be counting your lucky stars a little bit. But it is more the case of one driver has kept a calm head on cool shoulders all the way through this race, not cracking under pressure, not doing the Freudian slip of having a banana peel under your right foot. But he's done everything he's needed to do. And he's got a gap of over 7/10 of a second. Ahead of Vince van der Holle. Tom Longnoir now up into P3 ahead of Scott Marsh, who rounds out your top 4. Bastien Mesnil, Raphael Moreau, Macaulay Bishop now up from the outside of row 7. Now it currently seems like 7 might be a lucky number for him. Lars Lambers, Banan van der Weken and Krit Knurren. They are the ones that are rounding out your So with the final lap now underway, time is on nobody's side when it comes to making sure all the results are correctly inputted and everything sporting and technical is all sorted out by the end of the day. Then there we go. However, it is going to be another win for Dan Holland Racing. This time, Thijs van Wijk wins the final. Ahead of Vince van der Holle, Tom Longnoir. But there we go. Van Wijk takes the win in the final for day 1, round 1. Ahead of Vince van der Holle, Tom Longnoir, Scott Marsh, Bastien Mesnil. They round out the top 5 overall. Raphael Moreau, Macaulay Bishop and Ryan Bourguignon round out your top 8. With Banan van der Weken and Lars Lambers completing the top 10. Ryan Gandor takes 11th, ahead of Antoine Lemieux. So, as you can see on your screen, a lot of the results. So, Tino Sidler, Danny Shields, Fredrik Ubben, Kenneth van Mokerke, Matthias Jaderup, Harry Freeman. Charlie King and Callum Sims round out your top 20, followed by Arnold Sebahan, Boris Verhaag, Krit Knurren, Lado Guernitze, Victor Galmiche. So, Koen Willems, Tino Potier, Rein van der Meer, Vic van Kampenhout, Louis Oliver Gunter, Arav Dewan and Connor Large round out the runners and riders. Antoine Taron, Boaz Maximov and Augustin Boulet round out the non-classified runners after the checkered flag had fallen. So folks, that concludes day 1, round 1 of the 18th season of the BNL Karting Series here at Racing Kart JPR in Austricourt in eastern France. Well, the weather is set to continue as we gather pace towards the path to Portimao, the venue and the backdrop for this year's Rotax Max Challenge Grand Finals between the 21st and the 28th of November this year. So, we finally have closed off that opening chapter of the first of 4 rounds here in 2026. More to the point, there's going to be more racing tomorrow. So join us from around about 10:15 local time, live and direct here from the circuit with myself, Alex Goldschmidt, and our production for the live stream, courtesy of WFR Live TV. We have to say a big thank you to you all for taking the time out of your busy weekends to join us here on the live stream, to let us know who you're supporting. Don't forget to follow us on social media at BNL.Karting Series on Instagram, at BNL Karting Series on Facebook, and for further information on the championship and the upcoming rounds, head to BNLKartingSeries.com. Well, it's a bit of an early finish here for us here in Eastern France, but What a wonderful way to see it finish underneath the sunshine. We'll see you tomorrow morning. And more to the point, this has been a WFR live TV production. We'll see you bright and breezy tomorrow morning for day 2. Good night.